Every year, millions of Americans on Medicare quietly lose hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars, not because they were careless, not because they ignored their health, but because nobody told them about a handful of Medicare rules that are easy to miss and expensive to get wrong. If you are 65 or older and on Medicare, or getting close to that age, what you are about to hear could save you real money. And more importantly, it could protect you from surprises that hit at the worst possible time, when you are sick, when you are stressed, and when your budget simply cannot absorb another unexpected bill. Here is what most people do not realize. Medicare is not one simple program with one simple set of rules. It is a layered system with enrollment windows, coverage gaps, penalty traps, and plan differences that can quietly work against you if you do not know what to watch for. And the painful truth is, many of the mistakes we are going to talk about today are made by smart, careful people who simply did not know what they did not know. So stay with us through this entire video, because the mistake near the end, the one most retirees never even think about, is the one that tends to hurt the most. Let us start with a story, because this is not just about rules and numbers. This is about real people and real consequences. Margaret was 66 years old, recently retired from a school district in Ohio where she had worked for 28 years. She was organized, she paid her bills on time, she kept records. When Medicare came up at her retirement seminar, she listened carefully and felt confident she understood the basics. She had Part A, she had Part B. She had signed up when she was supposed to. At least, she thought she had. She did not bother with a supplemental plan right away because she was healthy and the extra premium felt unnecessary. Then, 18 months into retirement, Margaret had a health scare. Nothing catastrophic, but serious enough to require 2 specialist visits, an MRI, and a short outpatient procedure. The bills came in, and Margaret sat at her kitchen table staring at a number she had never expected. Over $4,000 in out-of-pocket costs that her Medicare coverage did not fully cover. She called the Medicare helpline. She talked to her insurance agent, and slowly, painfully, she began to understand what had happened. She had made 3 separate mistakes, each one of them common, each one of them avoidable, and each one of them contributing to that bill on her kitchen table. Margaret's story is not unusual. It plays out in different forms, in different states, every single day. And the reason we are here today is so that it does not play out in yours. Let us walk through the mistakes, starting with the ones that seem small and building toward the ones that can genuinely change your financial picture in retirement. The first mistake is one that surprises more people than almost anything else in the Medicare system. It is the assumption that Medicare covers everything related to your health. This seems reasonable. You paid into the system your entire working life. You hear the word Medicare and you assume it means healthcare is covered. But Medicare, especially original Medicare, has significant gaps that many retirees do not discover until they are already dealing with a bill. Original Medicare, which is Part A and Part B, does not cover routine dental care. It does not cover most vision services, including eyeglasses. It does not cover hearing aids. And for millions of older Americans, those are not minor line items. Dental problems become more common and more expensive with age. Hearing loss affects a large percentage of people over 70. Eyeglasses are not optional for most people past 65. The retirees who get blindsided by this are not uninformed people. They are people who assumed that the word Medicare was synonymous with health coverage, and nobody clearly told them that significant parts of their health were simply not included. The fix here is not complicated, but it does require action. If dental, vision, and hearing matter to you, and for most people they absolutely should, you need to either look at Medicare Advantage plans that include those benefits, or you need to set aside a separate budget for those costs. Waiting until you need a $4,000 dental procedure to discover that Medicare does not cover it is not a situation you want to find yourself in. Now let us move to the second mistake, and this one has a financial penalty attached to it that never goes away. Most people know that Medicare has an enrollment window, but many do not understand just how strict that window is or what happens if you miss it. The standard rule is that you become eligible for Medicare when you turn 65. You have a 7-month window, 3 months before your birthday month, the month itself, and 3 months after to sign up. If you miss that window without a qualifying reason, you will pay a late enrollment penalty on your Part B premium for as long as you have Medicare. Not for a year, not until you catch up, forever. The Part B late enrollment penalty adds 10% to your monthly premium for every 12-month period you were eligible but not enrolled. So if you were late by 2 years, that is a 20% increase on top of your standard premium. every single month for the rest of your life. Now, there is an important exception here that many working people do not know about until too late. If you are still working at 65 and covered by an employer health plan, you may be able to delay Part B without penalty, but only if that employer plan qualifies. And the rules around what qualifies are specific. If you are covered through a spouse's employer or through your own employer, the size of the employer matters and the type of coverage matters. Getting this wrong is a costly mistake that permanently affects your monthly expenses. This is one of those areas where checking with a licensed insurance counselor or your state health insurance assistance program, commonly called SHIP, before your 65th birthday is genuinely worth the time. That call could save you hundreds of dollars a year indefinitely. The third mistake connects closely to the second one, and it is where Margaret from our earlier story ran into trouble. It is the mistake of skipping a Medigap or supplemental plan during your open enrollment window. When you first enroll in Medicare Part B, you have a 6-month window where insurance companies are required to sell you a Medigap policy. That is, a supplemental plan that helps cover Medicare's out-of-pocket costs without medical underwriting. That means they cannot deny you coverage or charge you more because of your health history. You get to buy in at standard rates regardless of your conditions. Many new Medicare enrollees skip this window. They feel healthy. The extra premium seems unnecessary. They tell themselves they will reconsider next year. Here's the problem. Once that initial enrollment window closes, insurance companies in most states are allowed to use medical underwriting if you try to enroll later. That means they can look at your health history and they can either deny you coverage or charge you significantly more because of existing conditions. If you had a heart issue, a cancer diagnosis, diabetes, or even a history of back surgery, you may find yourself locked out of the Medigap coverage you would have easily qualified for during that initial 6-month window. Margaret skipped her window because she felt healthy. By the time she wanted to enroll in a Medigap plan after her health scare, she had a new pre-existing condition on her record. Her options were limited and her premiums were higher. That initial 6-month window, the one she did not think she needed, turned out to be one of the most important financial decisions of her retirement, and she did not realize it until it was gone. The lesson here is not to make coverage decisions based on how you feel today. Make them based on the rules of the system and the reality that health can change without warning. That initial Medigap enrollment window is one of the most valuable opportunities in the entire Medicare system. Protect it. Let us talk about the fourth mistake now. And this is one that affects people who choose Medicare Advantage plans, which today cover a large portion of all Medicare enrollees. Medicare Advantage plans can offer real benefits. Many include dental, vision, and hearing. Some have zero premiums. Some include gym memberships and wellness programs. On the surface, they look like a great deal, and for many people, they can be. But there is a mistake that a significant number of Advantage Plan enrollees make that catches up with them, sometimes in a serious way. That mistake is not checking the network every single year. Medicare Advantage plans are managed care plans. They have networks of doctors and hospitals. If your doctor is in the network, you pay lower costs. If your doctor is outside the network, you may pay significantly more, or in some cases, the plan may not cover out-of-network care at all, except in emergencies. The critical thing that many people do not realize is that networks change. Every year during open enrollment, which runs from October 15th to December 7th, insurance companies can modify their plans. A doctor who is in your network this year may not be in your network next year. A hospital that was covered this year may no longer be in your plan next year. And if you do not check, you will not find out until you are already at the appointment and the bill arrives. This is especially important for people managing chronic conditions or serious illnesses. If you have a cardiologist you trust, an oncologist you rely on, or a hospital system you depend on, you need to verify every single year during open enrollment that those providers are still in your plan's network. Doing that once and assuming it stays the same is a mistake that can be very expensive. The fix is simple but requires consistency. Every fall, during open enrollment, take the time to log into your plan's website or call their member services line and confirm that your key providers are still in network. It takes maybe an hour, and it could save you from a 4-figure surprise. Now we come to the fifth mistake, and this is the one that tends to generate the most reaction when people hear it for the first time. Medicare Part D covers prescription drugs. Most people know that. What many people do not fully understand is that Part D plans are not equal. The drugs covered, the tiers they fall into, and the costs associated with them vary from plan to plan. And here's the part that surprises people. The plan that was best for your medications last year may not be the best plan for your medications this year. Every year, Part D plans can change their formularies, that is, the list of covered drugs, and the tier structure that determines what you pay. A drug that was in a low-cost tier last year might move to a higher-cost tier this year with no notification that you would easily notice. Your out-of-pocket cost for that medication could increase substantially without you doing anything differently. And yet, a large percentage of Medicare Part D enrollees never switch plans. Many have been in the same plan for years without ever reevaluating it. That loyalty is not rewarded by the system. The system simply keeps charging you what it charges you. The Medicare Plan Finder tool at Medicare.gov allows you to enter your specific medications and compare what different Part D plans would cost you for those drugs over the course of a year. This is a free tool, it is updated annually, and it is genuinely worth using every fall during open enrollment. Many people who use it for the first time discover they could save hundreds of dollars a year simply by switching to a plan that prices their existing medications differently. This is a mistake of inaction more than anything else. It is not that people do not care. It is that they do not know the rules change every year, and nobody is automatically looking out for their interests when those changes happen. The sixth mistake is less about enrollment and more about awareness, and it is one that affects people across the entire Medicare system. Many retirees do not know what appeals and protections they have when Medicare denies a claim or a service. When Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan says they will not cover a procedure, a hospital stay, or a medication, many people simply accept that decision. They assume that if Medicare said no, no is the final answer. It is not. Medicare enrollees have the right to appeal coverage decisions. If a claim is denied, you can request a review. If your doctor says a service is medically necessary and the plan disagrees, there is a formal process to challenge that decision. And these appeals are not just paperwork exercises. Many appeals result in reverse decisions and covered services that would otherwise have resulted in significant out-of-pocket bills. The key is knowing the process exists and acting within the required timeframes. If you receive a denial notice, whether from Original Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan, read it carefully. There will be instructions on how to file an appeal. Do not let that deadline pass without at least exploring whether the decision was correct. This is one of the most underused protections in the entire Medicare system, and for a retiree facing a denial on a major procedure or a long hospitalization, successfully appealing that decision can make a very significant financial difference. Let us slow down here for a moment, because by now you have heard about 6 real mistakes that real retirees make. And you might be thinking, this is a lot to keep track of. This feels overwhelming. That feeling is exactly why so many retirees end up making these mistakes in the first place. The complexity is real. The system is genuinely not simple. And the people who designed it were not primarily thinking about how easy it would be for an average 67-year-old to navigate it without professional guidance. But here is what we want you to take away from this. You do not need to memorize every rule. You do not need to become a Medicare expert. What you need is a handful of consistent habits, a willingness to ask questions during open enrollment each year, and an awareness that your plan, your network, and your drug coverage may have changed even if your life has not. Those habits are learnable, and the people who build them, the ones who check their plans every fall, who verify their networks, who know their enrollment windows, those are the people who avoid the kitchen table moments that Margaret experienced. The ones who sit down with a bill and wonder how it got so high. Now let us go to the final mistake, the one we mentioned at the start of this video, the one that tends to hurt the most. The final mistake is not about enrollment windows or network checks or drug tiers. It is about a decision that many retirees make at 65 that they cannot easily undo. It is choosing a Medicare path, whether Original Medicare or Medicare Advantage, without fully understanding how that choice interacts with their long-term health needs, their preferred doctors, their travel habits, and their financial situation. And then staying locked into that path because changing feels complicated. Medicare is not a one-size-fits-all system. The right plan for your neighbor may not be the right plan for you. Someone who travels frequently may find that Original Medicare with a Medigap policy gives them flexibility that a network-based Advantage plan cannot. Someone managing multiple chronic conditions may find that a well-structured Advantage plan with strong care coordination is exactly what they need. There is no universal right answer, but there is a right answer for you, and finding it requires honest reflection about your health, your lifestyle, and your priorities. The good news is that open enrollment exists precisely to give you the ability to make changes. Every year, from October 15th to December 7th, you have the opportunity to reassess. Use it. Not as a chore, but as a regular check-in on one of the most important financial and health decisions of your retirement. And if any part of this feels overwhelming, remember that free help is available. Your State Health Insurance Assistance Program, SHIP, offers free, unbiased Medicare counseling from trained volunteers in every state. You can find your local SHIP program by calling 1-800-MEDICARE or visiting medicare.gov. Margaret eventually found her footing. She enrolled in a Medigap plan at the next available opportunity, reviewed her Part D coverage, and started treating open enrollment season the same way she once treated tax season, as something important that deserved her full attention. She said something that has stayed with us. She said, "I wish someone had just told me this earlier, not to scare me, just so I could have been ready." That is exactly why this video exists, so you can be ready, so you can protect what you have worked for, and so that when a health challenge comes, because at some point it will, your Medicare coverage is working for you, not against you. Thank you for watching. If this helped you, share it with someone you care about, because the best thing you can do with this information is make sure it reaches the people who need it most.